Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Right. We are live. Okay, I'm going to share this to our groups really quick so that all of our lovely people can join us.
Awesome.
Hi, Annabelle.
I know. I got the little Anna Banana with us today.
I love that she's here.
I know. Hopefully she stays quiet.
She can do whatever she wants.
I know. That's what I'm finding is there's no way to
prevent that.
Yeah, or to predict like how she's going to act.
Okay.
Right, baby girl?
Right now.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so it is going into the Confident Ladies Club.
Awesome.
And we're going to share it to the Lit Up and Loaded entrepreneurs, and then we are going to rock and roll.
Awesome.
Do I keep it?
Yeah.
Freezing for you? No.
Not on the Be Live broadcast. In the Facebook group, it looks, well, actually you have to hit play in the Facebook group, so never mind.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Let me let the ladies know. Baby girl. Hi. Ooh. So I guess I look in the group in the Confident Ladies Club and I can see comments in there.
Yeah, I think we can see it on either.
Okay.
So sorry, this is taking a second. My computer.
No. Oh, awesome. Emily Castle's here. She said it's working.
Yay. So
Yay.
Kate, why don't you just start by like kind of introducing yourself and chatting a little while I get this live.
Sure. All right. I'm actually going to feed Annabelle as we speak, as we're here. So yeah, I guess I'll start with an introduction. I'm Kate Kracko. I'm a confidence and mindset coach for female entrepreneurs. And we're so glad to have you guys here to talk about Ease and Flow. I guess I'll share a little bit of my story first.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Tell them like what you do and what your story is on this for sure.
Awesome. So I started as a psychotherapist and came into the online space through, it's a very long story, so I won't get into it today, but stumbled upon the online space and through a bunch of different events ended up becoming a mindset and confidence coach. And what I love to help my ladies do is help them get through fears, insecurities, limiting beliefs, anything related around being an entrepreneur and having a business, because we know that you can have all the skills, all of the expertise, but if your mindset's not in check, if you're not feeling confident about selling yourself, about who you are as a business owner or sharing your story, it's not going to work. So that's how I help my ladies. Do you want me to, should we share now about, I guess I'll have you introduce yourself first.
Okay, cool. So I'm Lacey Craig. You are on my business page, Lit Up Life. This is what I'm all about, is helping my clients create the lit up lives and business they want. Like I had a lot of time in 9-to-5 positions where I felt like not lit up, right? Where I felt like, gosh, I'm so great and this is not it. And so for me, like entrepreneurship has really been the thing that's given me a lit up life. So I help my clients create an impact and income to create their version of that too. But what is interesting about that, and what Kate and I talk about all the time, is that there's a way where that can feel confusing. Like, what does that even mean? What does that even look like? Does it look like hustle all the time? Does it look like ease and flow? So that's why we're here today, is because we want to talk to you about like, what is like the actual real story behind that, not like the kind of like manufactured, marketed version of that. And also we're here because we actually created this entire retreat called Conquer and Create, which is all about this topic, right? It's all about helping our tribe bring the right type of ease and flow into their business that like actually serves them, actually helps them move forward, and stops leaving them totally confused on, should I hustle all the time? And we realized we had never, ever talked about this live. And to all of you and to all of our tribe, we kind of sold this retreat very much like behind the scenes. So we decided it was time to be less behind the scenes about this and get it out there. So Kate, maybe you could just tell them what the first ever Conquer and Create is going to look like.
You just went mute for a minute.
Did I? Can you hear me?
It keeps going in and out on my end.
Oh, okay.
Oh no. You're freezing on my end.
Can you see me?
I can now. It keeps going in and out. Oh man.
Well, we'll make the best of it. We're going to make it work.
Yeah, we're going to make it work. And this is exactly what we talk about, is just making things work when little things are thrown in your way.
Definitely. So why don't you tell them like a little bit about what the first Conquer and Create is going to look like?
Yeah. So we, both Lacey and I, we started our businesses a few years ago, and we went at full force. We went and, we decided we were going to build, and start to see, Shannon saying Be Live seems to do that. I guess we're cutting out a little bit.
It's okay. We'll just keep going.
So both of us, our first year or so, we just threw so much of our time, so much of our effort into our businesses. We both hustled. We did what people were telling us to do, work harder, hustle harder. And both of us, I know personally myself, like I started to feel very burnt out. And it started to become almost a little bit scary because I was literally working 24/7, and it was on my business, which I loved, which, it never really felt like work to me.
Yes.
But, I recognized that it wasn't healthy anymore. And little by little, through all of that, I've decided, I started to lean back a little bit. And I guess back to the retreat, like why we created it was because we know there's so many of you out there who have really successful businesses, and you did the same thing, or you're in it right now. You are hustling, you're working hard, you're doing all the things, and you're feeling like maybe disconnected from your why, or feeling like, you quit your 9-to-5 to have this incredible business, to have this freedom, and now you feel stuck. You feel like there's no more freedom. Like you don't have time to do the things that you used to love to do. You're not even sure like what it is that you love to do because you're just always in your business. And the Conquer and Create retreat is really there to help you guys sort of step back and reconnect and reground with your why, and get you back to that place where you were really excited about your business. You had more space in your life to do the things that you really love and desire. So that's just a little bit about it. You want to jump in, Lee?
Definitely. I mean, so, what's really important to us, and like what I think is the secret to the success we've created, is that like we didn't vilify the hustle. So like Kate said, when we got to that point where we were like, okay, it's time to pull back a little, or it's time to reframe or do this differently, like we don't look at that and make ourselves wrong. We're not like, we built it wrong, we did it wrong, whatever. We're like, that was a season and that was super important. And we're so like, I have like the utmost gratitude for the Lacey that showed up and hustled like that. And I know Kate feels exactly the same, right? Like, thanks girl, thanks for showing up, right? And also like, I can see how that will happen again in my business. Like there will be other times where I show up and I hustle and I'm all in. However, there are also going to be those times where I lean back and create a different experience. And for us, that is ease and flow. Mm-hmm. Being able to like hustle when we need to, pull back when we need to, and actually be in flow, not in perfect balance or symmetry all the time, right? Because business is so nonlinear. You know, there's a time and a season for everything. And so Conquer and Create is about how are you like conquering those demons and those mindset things that come up that tell you you must hustle all the time or you always have to be in flow. And then how do you like create from that space, whether you're in a season of hustle or in a season of ease, like you can still create exactly what you want. I think what we see happening in this industry that we don't love is that both are vilified, right? Like the hustle can be this like terrible, negative, awful thing. And then like having any ease and flow is basically saying like, you're not working hard enough. You're not scaling to $1 million, whatever the thing is. And it's like both, right? Always both. So I wouldn't be here today. Like I'm going to make over 250K in my business this year. Like I wouldn't be here had I not been willing to do both. Kate's crossed the 6-figure mark her first year in business. She wouldn't be there had she not been willing to do both, right?
Yeah.
So what does that look like on your end, Kate? Like I know I'm like, massive gratitude to you for showing up, Lacey. Like when you look back at that, like what do you feel like? What does it look like for you?
Yeah, looking back, it looks so hard. Like right now, my life is so different than then. And I'm like, I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I stayed up that late, how I worked that hard. But again, it's like you have to lay that foundation and it just can't come easy. To have the ease in your business, you've got to do the work. You've got to do the hustle. And again, it's season. So all first year of my business was really, well, actually, I should say probably the first 8 to 9 months of my business was a season of hustle. And I kept going and going and going. And really the only thing that stopped me and helped me realize that, man, I got to step back a little bit was finding out I was going to have baby Annabelle. And that was like the biggest gift in my business because, you know, it taught me, you know, all right, I already laid the foundation, like things are running, things are going, and I can step back. And what I noticed was like the more and more I would step back, the more that things wouldn't fall apart. And I think that's where people are scared. Like once they're in that hustle, they're afraid to lean back because they're afraid like, all right, is this all going to fall apart now? Are people going to forget about me? And yeah, again, like you said, even, you know, I would say like the fall of last year, I honestly, like that whole quarter, I wasn't even in my business at all. Like I was so sick with morning sickness. And thank God that I had Megan and I had other people to help me. Megan is our OBM, to help me in my business, because I wouldn't have been able to keep it up myself. And I think that also plays a big part in it. Like once you do the groundwork, once you have the foundation set, then, you know, I think it only gets easier from there in a way because you have the resources. Again, like both of us you crossed the multiple 6-figure mark. I crossed the 6-figure mark my first year. And I wouldn't have been able to hire that support early on. I needed the money there first. I needed the income there. And once you... Yeah, do you want to say something?
No, I'm just like, yes, it's so true, right? Like all the things, right?
So that's what creates the ease. And I think so many people also tend to block themselves from getting to that next, you know, I don't like to say the next level, but from getting to that next step or next chapter in their business, because they're fearful of like what's going to happen if I get to that next level. Like am I going to be able to handle it? Like, is everything going to fall apart? And I always like to tell people, no, like it tends to get a little bit easier, because you have those resources, you have people in your business to help you. You don't have to do it alone anymore.
I totally agree with you. Like I say all the time, like I earned ease and flow, right? Like I earned it because I put in a certain amount of work at the beginning that allowed me to hire a team and bring Megan on, who, like you said, is just a complete rock star in our business. And Kate and I like basically couldn't live without her. Right. But like, that became part of my business because one, I allowed it, and two, I created the resources that allowed it, right? So it was definitely a mindset shift of like allowing that support. And I know that was a huge edge for me. And then two, like I got myself resourced enough so that that was a possibility. Emily says yes to all of this. I just wrote a spontaneous blog post about this too. Same wavelength sisters. I love how that always works, right? Like we just felt this pull recently to like be a lot more open about talking about this. And obviously it's because there's like a collective desire for that, right? So the other thing I know we talk about all the time, Kate, that I think is so undervalued in this industry is the difference between ease and easy. Right? So like, I'd love to hear you say a little bit on that. Like what for you is like that difference?
I think with the ease, it's really like you have to make that mindset shift of like telling yourself, like, I'm only going to do what's in my zone of genius. And I think all of us come into this online space or, you know, as business owners, wherever your business is, and we want to do everything. Like we want to have control over everything. And when we try to do everything, things start to fall apart because we can't do them well. So I think, you know, once you've set that foundation and you have the resources in your business, you can really start to own in on your zone of genius and really just do what you're good at in your business and hire out the rest.
Here's what I'll say about that, though. I'm going to give you some like massive credit here because we've been together from the beginning, right? And like one of the things I know for you, like, do you remember how much you fucking hated lead pages?
Oh my God. Like, I think I cried on the phone to you. Yes.
Like it was not good. Like that was not the definition of easy. But
no,
because you were willing to learn that and like dive in anyway and like do the thing that wasn't in your zone of genius at the beginning, now you probably haven't touched a lead page in like forever because of that, right? So like I think that's such a good distinction of like, because you were willing to, now you get to work in your zone of genius. It's sort of how we talk about earning ease and hustle. Because you were willing to do some of that tough stuff, it looks different now, right?
I mean, think back. Like it'd be fun for us just to reflect for a moment, like on the things that we had to do that we hated doing. And mine was WordPress, lead pages, anything email related with like, back then I had MailChimp. Posting in groups, like all that stuff felt so hard. And those were things that we had to do every single day. And we did them every single day. And it was tiring and it was grueling. But we, like you said, like we earn it. When you put the time in, when you put the effort in, you know, your business starts to grow and then you can get other people to help you. But you have to do that stuff yourself in the beginning.
Totally. Like you have to be everything in your business at the beginning, which I think throws a lot of people off, right? And they're like, I'm not in flow. This is not flow. This is not ease and whatever. And I think that like, this is the message we want to share with you is that it doesn't have to feel perfect from the beginning, but it gets so much better. Like now, like even like, let's use posting in groups as an example. We both have super easy systems for that. We have repurposable content because we spent a crap ton of time creating it. And now we get to do like the fun stuff. Like I get to just like talk to my clients and interact with my community and like have this conversation because of all that, right? And there's going to be another point in my business where I hustle my buns off and get to the next level and then get to go from there and from there. But I think like what we want to give all of you so much permission on is you're not doing it wrong. And if you're in either space, you're doing it wrong when you're making yourself wrong, right? Like when you're in the, like if Kate was like, oh my God, I don't get lead pages. And so I'm just like this failure, or I'm doing it wrong, or I'm hustling too hard or whatever, that would have stopped her dead in her tracks, right? For me, one of the biggest edges is like, well, I was going to say has been, but I mean, let's just get real. It always is. In my business is control. So like bringing on that team and letting myself be supported and have ease around that, like felt almost harder than hustling all the time. Right.
Mm-hmm. And I think that,
you know that, right? Like that was like such a thing for me.
And now you just hand off even more because you know when you find that those right team members, it feels right and you start to trust people and you know people want to help you grow your business. But I think that also like that's a whole learning experience. And like if you guys are in that space where you're wanting to hire out, you're, you know, trying to get to that next level, like don't give up, like keep on searching, keep on trying to find that right person. Cause I was ready to give up. You know, I had VAs and I remember these conversations with you. Like, this is a sign. I just need to do it myself. I need to have control over everything. But no, that's BS. When you find the right person on your team, they'll make it easy for you. They'll make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys, I like literally cringe to say this. Like I am like slightly mortified that I'm going to like repeat that I ever thought that. But like a thing I used to say all the time was, oh, I'm such an ass, but was nobody could do it better or faster.
Yes.
Like I believed that like to my core, like there was nobody that was going to do it better or faster or like I wanted it or whatever. And it's like total bullshit. So if that's a story you're telling yourself right now, like call one of us and we'll show you somebody that can do it easier and faster than you, not us, but somebody else. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's another piece of like creating ease and flow doesn't mean like everything you do feels good all day, no matter what. It means like you are letting yourself do the hard stuff so you can resource yourself to do the stuff that feels really good. Right. Mm. And there is someone that can do it better and faster, hands down, promise you.
Yes.
Shannon said, when I started my original photography business years ago, I was so surprised to realize it was 10% photography and 90% business. Yes, right? And I think that happens in this world all the time. It's like, we just think we're going to be able to like show up and coach and serve. And then we're like, wait, I actually have to be a CEO of like a business. And like, how do I do that? And I think like Kate said, sometimes it takes that thing to shake you. We're kind of hoping like this live stream will give you perspective and do that so you don't have to have the things that we had. But like Kate finding out she was pregnant, personally, I have an autoimmune disease. So like there are some real limitations on how hard I can hustle with like still making sure that I am well and taken care of and supported, right? So I think whatever that thing is for you, there's going to be something where you're like, I have to make a choice, but like, you don't have to make a choice to go totally in either direction. Like you get to make a choice to incorporate both. Right.
Yeah. And like we said before, like the seasons piece, like
I was just going to say, ask you about that. Like, I love to hear you talk about this.
So like if I compared myself this time last year I was in hustle mode. I launched a mastermind, a group coaching program, a membership site. I closed my one-to-one and I was creating even more. I don't know who I was back then. I just kept creating and creating and creating. And, you know, that was the hustle season. And thank God, you know, that was a great season for me because when I got pregnant with little baby Annabelle, when I found out in August, I was so sick. Like I really didn't get over that morning sickness, which by the way, is really all day sickness. Those of you who have never been pregnant before, it happens all day long. But I really didn't get over that until like December. So during that time, you know, I had to lean back. I had to, you know, step back in my business. I had no other choice. And because of the hustle, because of the hard work that I lead, I was able to, like you said before, like repurpose content and relaunch some of those programs and just focus and nurture the things that I have and stop creating. And I think that's another big piece with this is that, you know, we have to get to a point in our businesses where we're not like creating all the time. Like you talk about execution, like that's one of the most important pieces. I don't know if you have anything to say to that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, you know, the idea of ease not being easy is like really relevant to what you were saying in the sense that like ease actually sometimes means stretching way out of our comfort zones to like be supported, or for Kate to lean back after she was in that season of hustle. Like that wasn't easy. That takes like so much mindset and discipline, right? But it did create more ease, right? So like that's a distinction we really want to offer here, is that easy usually means in our comfort zone and good. And that's great. We want you to operate in your zone of genius, but like ease, where things feel more flow-based and in alignment and allow you to lean back and whatever, that usually comes from having laid some pretty strong groundwork to create it, right? Like I know for me, one thing that happened this year actually was I was so excited because I had launched value-centered sales last year. It was amazing. It was like a great experience. It was the first time I ever ran it. And I was like planning a big launch this year. Like I was going to like go big, right? And I got incredibly sick during the launch. Like,
I remember that.
Like not like I could push through it if I want, like dead on the couch, couldn't move, kind of sick. And what ended up happening was actually still had a great launch. I mean, I definitely had some like serious mindset stress, you guys. Like, let me not be unrealistic about that. But like, I had a team. I had emails from the last launch. We repurposed those emails. We did what we could with what we had. And that did feel like ease and flow, not because it went perfect or that it was the easiest thing I've ever done, or that it wasn't without like some serious mindset work that I had to do, but because I had laid the groundwork the last time I launched that, the second time, even though stuff came up, it got easier and easier. So like whether you're at that point where you need to give yourself permission to start repurposing and creating ease and bringing on team members, or you're at the beginning where you need to give yourself permission to hustle a little, just know that like you're not getting it wrong either way, right? Like it will pay off. Just like Kate wasn't like, oh, I guess I'm going to make sure I get pregnant on this date of the month, so I'm going to do all this work now. She had been in a hustle season in her business, and then it paid off. And same with me when I got really sick. Like I had previously done the work, so it paid off tremendously, right? So I think that hustle seasons are a gift to yourself. Flow and ease seasons are a gift to yourself. And then you really do get to a point where they're the same thing. Where like you're hustling on the things you love, and because of that, you're creating flow and ease. Like I still hustle all the time because I am freaking jacked up excited about a lot of the things I'm doing, not because I'm like grinding it away at midnight because I have to, right?
You're right, because the hustle, it looks different once you're in a different place. Like I'm going to be back from my maternity on Monday, and that hustle will look so much different than it did this time last year. My hustle is working Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and, you know, I'll have help at the house Tuesdays and Wednesdays. The rest of the week, I'm on my own with the baby, and I'm trying to squeeze in, you know, work here and there when she's taking a nap. But that will be me hustling. And again, it looks different, and that's okay.
Yeah. And I think the further you get along in your business, the more you become okay with that, right? The more like, you know, when that's a season and that's okay, as opposed to feeling like, God, that's a negative that you have to work on our nap time or whatever. Like you're in this place where that still feels like flow, right? So I think that the other piece I want to talk about is like connecting back to the why, because I feel like that's a piece that keeps both of us going really strongly during those times, like depending on, oh, wait, I want to say one other thing really quick before I forget, because somebody just said this to me recently. Is like one of my wonderful clients and friends, Maggie Reyes, she said, I think it was a quote that she read, but she basically like imparted this with our mastermind group, which was nothing blooms all year. Or like nothing in nature blooms all year. And I was just like, oh my gosh, yes, because that is exactly our message. Like bloom when you're blooming and rest when you're resting. Like stop making yourself wrong when you're in either phase. Like shine bright when you're blooming and like give yourself that permission to actually get real rest instead of feeling guilt and shame and whatever when you're in a season of pulling back, right?
I love that.
I know.
I had to give myself permission back in the winter time, because I knew, I had deep down in my soul, I knew she was going to come early, little Annabelle.
You always knew that. You so did.
And everyone was like, you're crazy. There's no way she's going to be early. But I just knew it. So I gave myself permission to stop my work a lot sooner than her due date. Like I put a message out there, like, I'm not taking on clients anymore. This will be my last day. And I even at one point, like, started to second guess myself. Like, is this the right thing? But you know what? Like, I had to give myself permission because I just felt it. I felt that I needed that space. There needed to be time where I wasn't taking on new people. And my husband even thought I was crazy. It's like, you're going to go all this time without like taking on new clients? You can do that? And I said, yeah, I can do anything I want in my business.
I can do what I want.
It's my business. But yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I think that, you know, like, so basically, I think we have maybe told the story of this. I don't know if we have. Maybe you told it at the beginning. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Kate and I literally sold out this retreat the day after she had Annabelle, right? Like, it was like while you were in the hospital still.
Yeah.
Because I trust Kate's intuition. So Kate knew she was coming early. So I was like, yeah, she's coming early. So we like planned for it. And then she came even a little earlier than early.
Yeah.
And while you were in the hospital bed, like, we sold the last spot. So, and didn't even email our lists, you guys. Like, we did nothing around this. This was just like so aligned. So like something we knew. I think we put out a couple posts about getting on a wait list for it. And that was it, because it was just so true for us. But here's the difference. I think when we hear stuff like that, we go, what's wrong with me? Why is that not happening for me? What am I doing wrong that I can't sell out a thing while I'm having my baby, or, not have to mail my list? And what we're trying to say here is that ease and flow is because we did the hustle, because we've showed up consistently and relentlessly for a couple years at this point, right?
Yeah.
So if you're feeling like, why isn't that happening for me? Like, give yourself permission to earn some of that ease and flow, to build that super strong bond with your audience, so that when things like that come up, like, it is a different experience. And what we want to just say is, like, that's possible. Like, it's possible to have that different experience, and it's possible to feel totally jazzed and excited and flow based around that, right?
Mm-hmm. No, you're so right, because early on in our business, we wouldn't have been able to do that. Like, if we didn't have a list, or people didn't know who we were. And I think it can be very frustrating for people, because maybe you've been working in the corporate world for years, and you have all these expertise, or you've been, doing something else for all of these years. And then you feel like you come into the online space, or you open, a business, another type of business up, and you've got to like earn it. You've got to get people to know, like, and trust you, but it's just something you have to do. Mm-hmm. And you can't bypass that if you want to succeed.
Definitely. I think the bypass piece is so important, because I think a lot of the marketing in this industry is by people who have put in the work and are suggesting that there's a way to bypass it, or like there's this shortcut or whatever. And like, yeah, in some ways it's called mindset and strategy, but in other ways it's called show up consistently, and that will look totally different, right? Mm-hmm. So talk to me about like connecting back to the why piece, because I think we were going to go there and then I derailed us. But I feel like that's such an important piece we cannot talk about here, because I know that was like the driving factor that has like helped us to be in those seasons of hustle and ease without feeling like terribly conflicted or like there was something wrong.
Yeah, I think when people come into the online space, they have this, they're all excited, they're empowered, they're ready to make this big change. They have their why all set, and then they get so caught up with all of those little things, or get caught up with, just looking around them and comparing themselves to other people. And I think I was probably there at one point too, where all I was focused on, like, I totally lost touch with my why. Like, why was I doing this? And all I was thinking about was like, how am I going to do that next step? How am I going to implement this, implement that? And it's so important that you just continually check in with yourself and remind yourself like why you're doing this. And even today, I mean, I think no matter where you are in your business, this is like a skill or a little tool that you need to always use. Like maybe it's once a month, like get yourself back, get yourself connected and remind yourself why you're doing this. Because most of us who have businesses, we're not just doing it like, oh, let me just start a business. It's going to be easy. No, it's not easy. Like it's not easy at all.
It's like the best / hardest work you'll ever do, right?
Yeah. And if you go into it thinking like this is an easier option, like this is going to be easier than a 9-to-5, I'm going to have all this freedom, like that's not going to work. You've got
It's going to be different, but not easy.
Yeah. You've got to have something else behind it. You've got to have some other type of passion or idea or really, I guess, mission for why you're going to do this. And that can look different for everyone. Like my why today is so different than it was even probably 6 months ago.
Yeah. That's a great point too, like, because it changes and it evolves with you, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I know, and I'm like, this is some of those things that you share that you're not like proud of, but that are true and that you want to be honest about. But like, there was a point, I think, for me where it felt like 7 figures was the new 6 figures. Like there was so much pressure. I think I felt a lot of it because I did scale and grow my business really quickly, that I like should be like shooting to that, and that like that should be my driving line. Like, how do I hit 7 and whatever? And I just, I lost myself in that because that was not my real why. It has never been my real why. Right. And so like, I was just totally disconnected. And so there was an ease and flow because it didn't feel great. Right. But like when I really checked back in with that and like got clear on what I'm really in this business to do. And like, I know it's like to create other women that have a lit up life and to shift the like world and dynamic around that, like it got really, really easy, really, really fast. And like the money continues to show up and all of that's great. But it wasn't like this pressure to do this piece that like wasn't feeling like true for me, right? Will I get to 7 figures? Totally. Do I need to do it in the course of 8 months in business or whatever? Like that's just such a no for me. Mm-hmm. And not because it can't be a yes for somebody else, but because like for me, that's just not it, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so many other people, you look around and you think there's something wrong with you if you're not getting to that 6-figure mark or you're not getting to the 7-figure mark. Like you're not working enough, you're not hustling enough. But we get to decide where we want to be, and that can look very different at different times in our lives.
And really that's what Conquer and Create is about. It's like about providing you the space to feel into like, where is the hustle in your business and where is the ease and flow? And like, what does that look like on a continuum? Like, where are you not feeling the need to bloom all year? Right. Mm-hmm. And how do we create that difference? So like, let's just talk about like what are some of our tips around that? Like how, so we've kind of had this like long journey around this. So like, how do we shorten the timeline for some of the people listening? Like, what are some of your like favorite tips or things you've learned around this, Kate?
I think it's like the most obvious things and like the easiest things that you can do. And number one is just show up every single day, and just talk about your message relentlessly all the time. Talk about how you're going to help your clients, how you're going to get them results. And the other piece is like just not giving up and making sure you stay patient, you stay consistent, because really the people that make it, they're not any different. They're not any smarter or, have other skills that we don't have or other people don't have. They're just patient and they just kept on going and going and going. And I think so many people, I think it's natural to lose patience because you want things to happen quickly. You want to see some type of return right away, but it's going to take time. And I think for me, the number one thing that helped me propel my business even faster was always having one-to-one support and having a coach, having someone who could call me out on my stuff, who could, Lacey knows that. Lacey was my coach at one point. Amazing experience. But I remember times of like wanting to quit, and, you know, you would say to me, like, you just got to keep going, just keep going. You know, it's not a matter of like, if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. And I remember us always having that conversation.
Yeah, I love that you said that too, because I feel like most people like won't say that, like that there are times when I want to quit. Like, of course, like, do you know what I mean? Like, but what I look at in that is like, so say I want to quit my business once a week. I'm kind of teasing and kind of not. It depends on any given week, like what's happening, right? But like, say that's true. Like, I wanted to quit my 9 to 5 every second of every day when I was there. So like, you know, it's that is ease and flow to me too. And that is true, like truly my why and stuff behind it is that I feel so fulfilled in this business that I don't have this constant desire to like look for the next thing or find something else or run or quit or whatever, right? But it doesn't mean I never do. And like, I think sometimes we tend to think about it so black and white. Like I either feel perfect and good all the time or never. And it's like, I don't know, on any given day, maybe a little bit of both, right?
Yeah. It's never going to be perfect. And even if you have the best mindset, like your thoughts, your feelings are going to go in waves each day, sometimes by the minute, and that's okay. That's normal.
I think like some of the other tips that I would say are like really hiring the right help and like hiring early. So like whether that's a one-on-one coach or VA support or whatever, like I think both of us were really willing to invest from the beginning, and that made a huge difference because that support does keep you going. It does help you balance out the hustle and the flow, and it does help you make space to process that sometimes you wouldn't otherwise give yourself. And then like for us, like we both have teams now, and that gives us a lot of ease and flow in the sense that it frees us up to do even more of the work that keeps us in our zone of genius. And I would also say like, gosh, I talk about this a lot, but like letting go of the need to do it all. Like if you focused on one or two things in your business and did them super, super well, like, you know, if you just got your one-on-one to be from there, or if you just figured out how to get visible and then went on to the next thing or whatever, like the results that you'd be able to create and the ease and flow you'd have around it would be infinitely greater than trying to like build your list and fill your one-on-one and fill a group program and do that's when that's when hustle is bad, right?
I love that you say that because the girls in my inner circle, I challenge them for the summer to stop creating. And I know that's like a bold statement, but I said, your challenge this summer is just to implement. It's to take what you already have and maybe turn it into something else, or, you know, try to do that as successfully as you can. And
I love that. Yes.
And for some of them, I know it's very hard, and they've said that in the group, like it's a challenge. Like I can't not create. I can't not keep putting new things out there. But, you know, when you're consistent, when you have like those couple things that you're really good at, you can keep refining those things. And like your value center in sales, you know, that's something that you continue to refine and repurpose and relaunch. And you didn't have to start from scratch and create a new program.
I have a client right now. She's it's just an absolutely phenomenal, amazing person. And we like have this joke that she's in launch jail right now. Where like she can't launch for a couple months. Hi, Annabelle. Where she can't launch for a couple months. Not because I don't like, and you and I are the same. We totally believe in the creative process and tapping into that and how valuable it is in your business. But when that's the place that you get caught, or when you're always in that mode of like, create, hustle, you stop believing that it's possible to have more flow. So this is like a really cool thing of like just noticing where you're doing that to yourself. Like we're not saying go be in launch or creation jail. We're saying like notice for you what's true. Like, are you someone that is always worried about ease and flow and you need to give yourself permission to actually go create some shit and hustle a little? Or are you someone that is just like on the grind all the time and you need to give yourself the ability to see, like Kate did when she had morning sickness or all day sickness, that when you pull back, your business still thrives because you've created that foundation. So like notice where that is for you, right?
That's so right.
So I think we could open it to some questions, and then we could kind of tell them like what is next for us and for Conquer and Create, right?
Any questions?
Or even just thoughts. Like if you guys have your own thoughts on Ease and Flow, like Shannon mentioned how she was so surprised at like the 90% of running a business, like we would love to hear yours. Whether you're on live or watching the replay, like we feel like this is such an important conversation for women entrepreneurs to be being real about, to be having with each other. So like we invite you to do that. Our other invitation to you is that we are going to have more Conquer and Create retreats in the near future. This one was so well received. We are like way full on into the planning of it and are beyond excited to like present this experience. So if you guys want to find out more about when our next retreat or event around this topic is going to be, we would love for you to get on our waitlist to be notified about what's next. So you can go to www.alituplife.com/retreat. Get on the waitlist and we'll send you information about what's coming up next. But really, we just want you to know that like it's possible to have both. You can have both. And like, actually, that's what creates the best and biggest results for you, right? Cool. Anything you want to say about that, Kate?
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I think I don't have anything else to say. I'm sort of speechless now.
Awesome. So let us know, like we'll pop in and check the replay. We would love to answer your questions. If you have a question that we didn't answer or can't answer now, we'll jump on and do another live stream together shortly. But like, let's be part of this conversation together. Like, tell us what your examples are of this. Let's start giving each other permission to be either or both or all of the things all of the time. And not all of the things all the time, but like all of the things at different points in time, so that we can stop making each other wrong or making each side of the hustle versus flow conversation wrong, and give ourselves permission to do literally what serves us when it serves us, right? Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Annabelle. I'm so happy she was here.
I know.
She's the new Y.
Yeah, she's definitely the new Y. Again, feel free, send us questions, send us comments, and let's just keep the conversation going.
Thank you guys. We hope you have a beautiful weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.